look at me.
I was thinking coming over here, man, I hope it goes a lot better at Fresno than the last time we were there. Man, that was brutal. Back 2013, our second year, that was as tough as it gets. I think it was senior day for them, and it was they were on fire, and we finished that year at Fresno, I believe, and then at Boise the next week. We were about out of players. So hopefully it goes a little bit better. I mean, hopefully it's a little bit more competitive. But with that said, Rick, you want to start this off?
Given that everything's different, they're a new system and everything, new staff, how helpful is to have somebody like Jordan Peterson who knows the personnel so well?
You know, you'd like to think it is, but at the end of the conversation, I don't think it makes much difference or any difference at all, quite honestly. You know, there's no there's no revealing thing on any player that gives you any schematic type advantage or anything that you're going to try to isolate, quite honestly. We really haven't spent a lot of time, you know, as you said, particularly because the schematic piece of it is completely different. You know, certainly he knows their personnel, but you know, anytime there's a new coach, anytime the program takes a new direction, you see things in players that maybe the staff before didn't see. You know, I think everybody's energized at Fresno State because of the change. So bottom line answer to the question, Rick, I really haven't even paid much attention to it. We haven't talked about it a lot other than just kind of saying, what does this player look like, you know, size-wise? How does he compare to our guys? You know, that kind of conversation, but nothing specific that's going to have anything to do with game planning or anything like that.
With a new coach and a new program and only a small sample size of what you've seen from them this year so far, what do you expect out of a Tedford-led Fresno team?
Well, you know, they're a lot like us in that, you know, they won their first game, a game they should probably win. Then they lose the next two, and then they win the next two. So they have some momentum. You know, offensively, it seems like each week they have a little different wrinkle to their offense, whether it's formation-wise or kind of a package of plays. So all of a sudden, that starts to accumulate a pretty broad scheme by the time you get to the sixth game of the year. Defensively, they were a three-man front. They've made the change to a four-man front. Play really with two down guys inside and two kind of stand-up defensive ends. This is the first time we've played against them schematically, so there's real no idea of how they'll play us on defense. But it'll probably fall into, you know, a couple of the ways people have played us before because, you know, there's a lot of video evidence out there on us of how different teams have played us now. Special teams, I'm really impressed with their kickoff return game. You can tell they've spent a lot of time on it. Good fundamentals, and they have a good returner. So it's a well-coached team. It's a well-coached team that's always been as talented as any team we've played since we've been here. You know, Fresno has always been a good-looking team in the three times we played them before.
Coach, has there
As far as the Pepper, you guys stepped and stuff like that, you had the time off and you went in with the victory. How do you feel about your guys? How they look, how fresh they look and all that?
Yeah, really good. You know, they're excited. They're excited. I mean, you can sense it right now. You're into that stretch now where it's football 7 straight weeks, and every game means something. You know, if you go back and look at how many weeks we've been at this, if you go back to really even just the start of practice in July, a lot of the bulk of the season, quite honestly, is behind us, even though this is only our 6th game. So they're excited. You know, we're still got some guys that are a little bit nicked up. But there's definitely, like you said, you used the word pep in their step. I mean, you could see that out there today, and I think that'll continue.
Coach, in recent weeks, has there been a catalyst that you can put your finger on that says, wow, that was the moment, the way you played at Tulsa and the way you played and executed against the Air Force Man, it looked like everything was moving like you wanted it.
You know, I kind of go back, not that we've turned that proverbial corner or we're on such a roll right now, but, you know, really the second half of New Mexico State, we kind of got that first half behind us, and the second half we kind of just let it rip. But then I think really at Boise, you know, at Boise, and it was really after Rick McCorley had fumbled the first series of the game. You know, we go for it on fourth down, we convert, he fumbles the ball. And just there was kind of a moment there where kind of everybody just said, man, let's just go play. Let's go play, you know, and have some fun doing it. And I've seen that really grow since then. You know, I think our team is together about as much as I've seen any of our teams be together right now. And I think there's a genuine fun to play in, and I think they're looking forward to just going and playing and competing. And that's been the most encouraging thing to me, is they just like it, you know, and they seem like they really like each other.
Coach, the last 3 years, we've really not been able to, the last 3 times you played them, we haven't been able to match up with them very well, especially at the right wide receiver. Going into this season, this game, is this the best personnel we've ever had going up against a Fresno State team?
Yeah, you know, if you look defensively, it is. You know, and probably overall, it probably is our best personnel we've had. That doesn't mean we're going to out-personnel them or out-personnel anybody. But to answer your question, probably top to bottom, this is the best team we've had when we've played them.
They have shown an ability to stop the run, which obviously your program's done for. Traditionally, when you have a strong running team going up against a strong defensive, you know, stop, who has an advantage in that, or is there an advantage?
Yeah, I think that's, you know, it's kind of like us, though, playing Air Force last week, when a lot of times the statistics is based on who you play. You know, particularly early in the season when there's not as many games, JP. So the statistic thing is really hard to figure out. You know, the uniqueness of our offense, they haven't played us before. We haven't played them before. What's going to be the schematic kind of approach to the game? I don't think statistics mean much. You know, their statistics are really, really impressive based on who they've played in particular. The other thing is they've kept the ball away from teams. They really have. You know, you look last week against San Jose, I think San Jose had 205 yards offense the entire game, but they didn't have the ball a lot. So, you know, those statistics are so deceiving, and I think anytime you play an offense like ours or like Air Force's, you just don't know. You just don't know.
Another thing they don't seem to do is turn much. Do you guys put in emphasis one week to another as far as, is there a team or a scheme that's easier to try and create turnovers against?
Yeah, it's the same every week, you know, but you hit a good point. I mean, the reason we beat Air Force when all the dust settles is because Air Force, we forced 2 turnovers against Air Force, and we didn't turn it over. I mean, it literally, even though the score looks 56-38 or whatever it was, those 2 possessions, and really kind of back-to-back possessions there in the third quarter, when Garrett Hughes caused the fumble and then Daquan Baker on the kickoff, those 2 series back-to-back that we were able to steal away from them made the difference. So that's why, again, how difficult it is to kind of predict outcomes or how teams match up. I mean, so many things happen during the course of a game. It just changes the game. But to answer your question, there's no scheme that's any more conducive to turnovers or less conducive. You know, it's all about just the techniques and sometimes good fortune. I mean, there is good fortune involved, too, to protecting that ball or turning the ball over on defense.
I guess McMarion has played the last 2 games entirely, but did things change at all schematically when he took over from Virgil? Is it
No,
the same?
you know, they're very similar. You know, they're kind of the same single-digit number, kind of look the same. they kind of are what they are, and they both look very similar to me. I think they have two really good quarterbacks. Both are athletic enough. The threat of the quarterback runs there with both of them, and they both can throw it. So very similar in their style of play. I can see why they play both of them.
I was gonna ask the same question, except like, I was looking at your stats for McMaryland and the quarterback, and he only throws for, like, I know he has a percentage of 70% almost, but he's only throws for about 130 yards, so that means he must be throwing a lot of short crosses, nothing long really, and
well, I'm sure he can throw it long, but they're a big RPO team, the run pass option. They run a lot of, stretch play, and then the quarterback will come out of there and throw it if the coverage is off. They do a good job with that. And I mentioned that before. I was asked a question about Jeff Tedford, and offensively, what's his style? His style is what is current in college football or pro football, and his style is based on his personnel, what he can do, and that's why he's a great coach. But they definitely are into the RPO game, and a lot of those completions you see come off of that.
Speaking of that RPO, Coach, how much are you guys willing to be into that? I mean, like, I know running is the bread and butter here, but has anything changed as far as, like, do you throw when you absolutely have to, or you just try to incorporate it?
Yeah, I think, a couple things. One, with Delane Hart, you have to take your shots down the field. We saw that against New Mexico State, certainly. Against Abilene Christian right off the bat, and then we saw it last week against Air Force. So you have a Delane Hart that is that guy just to take the shots down the field. Obviously, it depends what quarterback's in there, who throws it a little better. But I do think with our receiving core, including now Jay Griffin, there's some talented guys that I think we continue to feel like we can throw the ball if we need to throw it. But I go back to this, the games we've won and the best games we've played here offensively is when we've thrown it about 8 to 10 times. So again, that kid in the candy store, we've been very careful not to become something that hasn't been our best formula to win. And that's kind of what we are when we're at our best.
You made the comment, you said, depending on which quarterback's in there, are you planning on using more than one quarterback?
There's a chance. There's a chance. I don't want to get out there right now with any strong statements, but I guess I kind of have by even waffling a little bit right here. I guess I have. But, again, Tavaka, when you go back and look at the second half against New Mexico State, did some really good things. And certainly Colton Gerhardt against Tulsa and Boise. So I think, again, I don't think there's a magic formula for it. It depends on how the game goes. But I do think there's an opportunity that more than one quarterback will play, regardless of how it goes.
Coach, you're talking about trying to expand the offense. You mentioned this last couple of years that people are kind of catching up, I don't know if that's the term you use, to your offense, wanting to expand your offense, throw the ball a little bit more. Can you talk about recruiting players and wide receiver guys that want to catch the ball, but yet your responsibility is to block, and how you keep them locked into blocking, and that's kind of the primary goal of the offense?
Yeah, and I think, Bob, you have to be really careful not to promise something in recruiting that you're not going to deliver on, because then you have a player that, in his mind, you brought here under false pretenses, and that's fair. And that is kind of remarkable how we've put together this wide receiver core. Of course, it's kind of unique because a couple guys were quarterbacks, and I could go through the whole list. But I don't think you ever get out there and recruit a receiver saying, listen, we're going to throw it 35 or 40 times a game. That's not happening. So I think finding guys that are unique to us is really critical, and the pool of guys we're going to be able to get. This is a unique job here. This is a unique situation here. And we have a unique offense, and we're going to ask guys to come do it the way we want to do it. So if at some point we do become more balanced, great. but we're not out there selling that to try to recruit guys. You know, we've had a lot of success here doing what we do, and we're proud of it. And a lot of kids, for different opportunities, see us as a pretty good place to come. So I think you got to be careful on always that thing of, well, we're going to open it up. Well, we're going to become balanced. Well, we're going to this. You know, we kind of are what we are, and it's going pretty good.
Coach, with that saying about recruiting, you mentioned last week about going out after some good running backs in the JC.
Yeah.
Because obviously it's hard to get a 4 or 5-star running back to come to UNM as a freshman. Did you find some players out there that could fit in with this next season?
Yeah, what we've done is, not to explain our whole recruiting process, but we are in the phase right now of the whole staff looking at one time, both offensive and defensive players. In other words, it's all, every staff member sitting in there, and we put the offensive players up and the defensive players. So everybody gets to have their own ranking, and then we take it. And we are at that point now where we've been out enough, evaluating enough, and, you know, there are some guys out there that fit our offense. The problem is they fit other people's offenses too. You know, I wish we were the only one they fit, but you bring up running back, that is a key for us, you know, and we're always looking for that home run hitter. That guy can take it and doesn't have to be the biggest guy, but hopefully he's one of the fastest guys.
Coach, how many hours a day does it mandate on your staff? How many total hours does it mandate to get the job done? What's the workload? When do you start? When do you finish?
I think it's, you know, if you take a normal week, you know, if we play Saturday, we're in the office probably at 8 o'clock Sunday morning. 8 o'clock Sunday morning till probably 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock Sunday night. And then it's earlier on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. We're in there probably at 6:15, out of there at probably 9 or 10 o'clock at night. And, you know, but the thing is, it never has felt like a job. You know, it's something that everybody in that building is passionate about. So, yeah, it takes a unique guy to coach, that's for sure. You know, it takes a unique family to be involved with a guy that coaches too. And these families and these wives and your children, they see it all. And it takes unique people to do this. But it's the best, to actually get paid for doing it, it's a pretty good deal, pretty good deal.
Coach, going back to talking about getting a couple of running backs and stuff like that, being the rushing leader last year, how much has that helped to where maybe you would have had to do more convincing now, like some kids see that?
Yeah, I go back to what Dennis Francione told me and what Rocky told me. It never really changes, the battle you have here. You know, you'd think when you've won a few more games or you went to a bowl game or you have these kind of statistics, the landscape doesn't change much. And it continues to be a full-on battle to recruit players to come here, quite honestly. And that hadn't changed. You know, of course, we can say it, and it sounds pretty good to say it, but it takes a lot of other things to make a place attractive for young men to play college football. And, you know, we're still in an uphill fight in some ways when it comes to that.
What's the biggest selling point of Lobo football right now?
The head coach. The head coach. Yeah, let's make sure we put that in context, okay? Because you know, there have been some things probably taken out of context and maybe sensationalized just a little bit around here. So please show the video of me saying that, okay? So we know it was a joke, because I know there are some agendas out there of how things get kind of sensationalized right now. But no, I think it's a chance to make a difference. It's a time to be at a place where people probably say it shouldn't be done and probably can't be done. And that all of a sudden you could come here and what have we won, Brian? 11 of our last 14 or 12, 10 of our last 13 games. It's a chance to do something that people probably say you can't do. Okay?
Coach, doesn't it bother you when I read it in the paper? people writing in saying that we're not recruiting enough New Mexico players, but you and I know we're lucky if we have 4 or 5 really Division I players in
Yeah.
the whole state. And they're talking about we should stack up with New Mexico kids. We'll never win. But these guys that keep on writing these stories, and I'm sitting there going crazy when I see it. Knowing that I know
Yeah.
in all the high school games I watch every Friday night, you know there's just very few prospects.
Yeah, well, I'll let you guys debate that. That's down my list of things right now that I'm immersed in right now is that one. That one's kind of cooled off here in the last few weeks of problems. So, you know, I'll let you guys take that one for me. All right?
Hey, Coach, I have one more
Sure.
question. You know, we last year, of course, we had just, we led the nation in 30, 40, 50, 60-yard runs and stuff, and looked like, I know Air Force is the first team and stuff, but does it look like now that you changed the offensive line now, made a couple changes, do you think we're back to maybe where we were last year?
I think that's a great point. You know, again, you know, we're not quite as explosive. You know, Gip was a guy that, you know, you go Jarrell Presley and then Gip, you had 2 guys who could just absolutely take it. Now, we do have some explosive guys. And I think Tyrone Owens is really kind of coming on right now. McCorley's coming on right now. Chestnut can take it. Ramel Jordan's been a great addition coming back. But the first time this year it was against Air Force when we had enough movement up in there on inside zone plays that those backs actually had a chance to run through arm tackles, you know, where it's just not stuffed up in there and there's no space. We actually had some space in there. You know, Teton Saltis has helped us. Chris Estrella has helped us. 2 young guys that looks like they're going to be really, really good. So we'll see. You know, that is the hope. You know, the hope is that, yeah, we're starting to get better up front. We've kind of done that each and every year, you know, where we've gotten better on the offensive line as we've gone deeper into the season. So I think, you know, each week it'll be a test, but if we can get that thing going like we had it going against Air Force, then we're pretty hard to stop, and we can kind of play within our way to win games. So let's stay tuned. Now, if you guys can stay up late enough Saturday night to watch this game, what is it, 8 o'clock Mountain Time, 8:15?
8:08.
8:08 Mountain Time. And then next week it's 8:30 Mountain Time against Colorado State, right?
Yeah,
8:30 Friday against Colorado State.
I won't scare them off right now. It's 8:50.
Henry, you're going to be able to make you get 4th quarter, regardless of the score, you're going to still be in there, right?
Coffee and everything.
Whatever it takes, right?
Amen.
All right, guys.